If you thought the energy was lacking on the Ohio State broadcast on Saturday, don't worry. That will not be a problem at Roosters with Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Nicole Cox, and me, Austin Ward. We are pumped to talk about
Bring
Ohio
the
State
juice.
winning 45-0
Let's go.
over Purdue. Welcome in.
Oh,
to the
that's
live show.
perfect.
We're ready to go. Bob, that was a fun game. You check every box. That's what you're supposed to do for November.
It was clean. There was good energy. I mean, Purdue threw some stuff out there. You got a defensive coach, head coach. They're going to throw some stuff in there, but it wasn't like it was a bad start. Purdue drove a little bit. Nice interception by Lathan Ransom. You had some special teams action.
Yeah.
Been waiting for it.
A defensive scoop and score, kind of checked all the elements of entertainment, separated big in the third quarter, and got out there with a win. Like, that's what you want to see Saturday. It's what you want to see next Saturday. And you want to make sure that, like, there's nothing that pops up. And you even got to see a little three down rush film.
A wild jack out there.
Wild jack. I heard those went extinct in 2022. The rumor was it was back.
But now it's
back. The jackalope.
It was roaming out there in the wilderness. And
Nicole, like these cheesy bacon potato wedges.
Yes.
You've been watching the leadership,
Smell
the
good.
energy, the passion, the intensity, and it feels like Ohio State's rediscovered some of that in the last couple of weeks.
And as we were talking yesterday, there was a little, I don't want to say I was nervous, but just knowing we were playing Purdue after coming off, I get nervous regardless, whether it's a good situation or a bad situation.
She's just a planner.
But yes. But we came off such a big win, and I thought it was going to be such a test on, okay, are we going to be a little lax this weekend because it's easier?
Noon start
and
the shoe.
Well, they should be used to that. They're going to finish the year. As
Yeah.
I told you last week,
They
Bob,
better be used to it.
6 straight noon bangers.
Which-
Terrible.
It's different. Let's put it that way. And but watching them out there, and even Coach Day, like when Caden blocked the punt, his excitement. We see him on the side. We've watched him all season. And last game, we saw him really get juiced, And now he was just so stoked. And I think that is making a huge difference with this team because they came out to play Purdue.
Yeah.
And we got some new guys out there. We got some new schemes run, like new plays. It was just, I thought they took advantage of the situation and went out the best they could be.
I think that's a really great point, Nicole, because if you watch Ryan Day during a game, you know that he is passionate, but it's almost always when it's in a negative play, and he doesn't celebrate generally exciting plays, good plays, touchdowns, and the punt block there with, finding Rob Keys, the special teams guru on the sideline, and giving him credit and showing some love there. Like I think that's a little bit of a change. You don't have to only show emotions when it's bad.
Exactly. And I think that I always say, like, and I don't like using the word contagious, but like good energy and positive vibes, it's contagious. It spreads. Like if you see someone smiling or laughing, you don't realize it, but you're kind of smiling a little bit too. And so I think it's important that he keeps doing this for the guys. And I mean, you could tell they were all getting pumped up too, just the energy on the field and on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Happiness is contagious. Be a carrier.
Be a carrier.
I just want to find a
Test
better word.
positive.
Test positive for happiness.
That's what we talked about coming out of that Nebraska game is like positive energy. You know, if it's happiness or whatever, just have a little joy in what you're doing. Like remember that you're getting to play and coach football, and you're either making a living doing it or it's part of your livelihood at this point in time, and enjoy it. Especially at a place like Ohio State, you're playing Purdue, you're winning. Like, don't rely on the stadium. Get the stadium excited. And so it felt like they carried that over from Penn State. Hopefully, Wrigley's going to be a challenge because it'll be a unique beast up there.
It's going to be a lot of red in the stands, though. You know what I mean?
And they're going to be far. When they're like far away from the field.
It's going to be an interesting setup. Yeah.
Like, so it'll be harder. Hopefully, the weather's pretty good. It looks like it should be all right. And it's an opponent that's similar to Purdue, a little bit better, I guess, but not a whole lot.
We'll talk about the challenges of Wrigley in the second half, because I have a lot of thoughts on what a mess this is going to be and an embarrassment to the Big Ten. But Saturday wasn't. Saturday was a traditional Big Ten showdown,
and it was a butt whooping, and coming off of a road game, Penn State, big game. You can have that lit down maybe. Coming to a noon game against a team that you should just roll out and just smoke. And it didn't start off. Great. They drove the ball a little bit. We had a 3 and out or something early, and then all of a sudden, boom, 8 minutes to go, get that blunt or the pop blunt or pump block, and then that starts things. So I think they from there on went and took care of that game, and it's just fun to see them having fun. These guys look like Trey looks fresh. I mean, these guys look fresh. They look like they're healthy right now for the most part. Yeah, the rotation. I mean, we talked about that a lot over the year, but did what they had to do, 45-0 against a team that you should be 45-0 against, and that's what we want to see. And you got to win in November, right?
And Ryan talked about special teams, like it's about time. It's a little ominous almost, maybe auspicious, if you will, when he comes out in like, hey, it's about time for our special teams to get going. As much time and energy and effort as we've spent on this, it's time to see us start making some plays. And then poof, David Copperfield. You see the blocked punt. You watch them transition that. And
why wait, Bob? We've been saying this for 4 years.
Well, now he said it. And he said it. He put it.
Did he just now realize? He said Wednesday night. He said, well, it hasn't been a pro for us.
Well, I would say this. When you're the offensive coordinator and you're the head coach, you're worried about everything, but you're focused on the offense. Now that he's not calling plays, like watching Ryan in practice, like he's they use the term like for coordinators sometimes like a walk around guy. Like you don't have a position group you coach. Like, I mean, Ryan is as engaged with special teams now as anyone I've ever seen. Like Urban was, like Tress was, and it's hard to do that when you're calling plays because during the special teams period, like you're in on it, but then you're also like, okay, we've got this period coming up. Like, what's going on? What are we scripting? And I mean, there's an intensity and there's a passion. Like, all right, guys, I'm sick of spending all this time on this. We've got
nothing happening.
We're putting really good players out here. Go make a play. Like, go do it. And the return game's a little more squirrely because everyone kicks it through the end zone and like punts and punt it out of bounds. And you want guys fielding all of them? Not really. Like if it's not a fieldable ball, don't try to be too aggressive. There's no reason to be in. Yeah, don't make a mistake by being too aggressive. But in a block punt situation, like you can always go after that. Yeah. And you got a guy in Caden Curry who all he really does is make plays. And he's around the ball all the time, and so you get to see him do it there.
Yep, and that adjustment, Ryan Day talked about it afterwards. You saw Caden Curry and Mitchell Melton out there together. They wanted some bigger bodies, and lo and behold, that might be the better way to attack a shield than a fast guy, which I guess you can flip a coin, but it worked better to do it this way.
Yeah, try some new stuff. I mean, why not? Hey, we've been doing it like this all year. We haven't gotten anything. Yeah. We've got a couple other guys who are good players, big athletes, big body athletes. Let's see if we can get them in there. By the way, these guys are like pass rushers, so getting by people is kind of what they do.
They rep that a lot.
So let's see if we can kind of utilize those.
And it's also a play where you can try some stuff. It's like if you don't get there, they're punting the ball to us anyway. So I mean, there's some stuff
we
out there
and see what happens. There anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why not switch it up a little bit?
There are also defensive players who might be able to tackle somebody if the punter decides to take off. I don't know. It worked. Let's not nitpick the long process it took there. Let's just celebrate the outcome.
That's right.
For Ohio State. Nicole, I think that special teams play is written in your notebook. So you got some Roosters Buckeye leaves to give out.
I do. I'm going to do a Schlegel, and I want to give it to the coaches as well, especially Jim Knowles and Chip Kelly. I felt like they took advantage of the opportunity of this game to put in some new players so they got the reps and to try some new plays. And they didn't work perfectly, but they got to use them in an actual situation, not just a practice. Right. And I think it's great experience for the guys. So I love that they did that. And it was kind of fun to watch too, just to see something a little bit different. And they could have very easily just put all the starters in and blown Purdue out of the water, but instead they thought, you know what, this is a good learning opportunity and we can still win, which I thought was very important. But yes, my Buckeye leaf goes to Caden Curry. Caden Curry. We're having trouble talking.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
It's a long year. We've been talking a lot.
I mean, he got himself loose on the edge to basically put his hand up and block the punt. And it just, not only did the play, it was a great play, but it definitely juiced up everyone on the team. So I love those explosive plays that gets everyone. And I felt like he carried that energy throughout the game, and it just was contagious, as I was saying to all the other players as well.
It does, Bob. It does feel contagious when the special teams makes
because everybody loves it. Because you got offensive and defensive guys out there. You watch the special teams film as an entire team. So everybody gets to see it. There's an emphasis on it. Like you stop practice, everybody comes together and you work on it both sides. I mean, the next step for Ryan may have been going full Deebo Samuel and trying to get the special teams going that way. Sometimes you may have to take a swipe at a guy on the sidelines. go for a choke. I don't know.
Yeah.
You didn't see this, Nicole, in the Niners game. You asked Bronson about it.
I don't think Nicole wants to
They
see
had
it.
missed 3 field goals, and Deebo Samuel, their wide receiver for the Niners, may or may not have went at the.
May have put his hand on the guy's throat.
Good news was they made the game winner.
Yeah, he made the game
They
winner.
made the game winner. So
And it wasn't even the kicker, though. It was the long snapper.
Is that what you have to do to
Well,
like
I
get the
don't know.
winning kick? I don't understand that.
Well, I think he may have said. I don't know if it was.
Yeah,
just
he's probably
the
talking
kicker,
to the kicker and
maybe
then
the snapper
says
goes out.
something. Yeah.
And they went at it. It was great.
I can feel Nicole getting sick on my right just thinking about if that happened at Ohio State. Like that would not be.
Jackson or J.J. Smith just reaching over, and grabbing one of the
Grabbing.
No, he just
kicker, punter, snapper.
he just
whoever it
grabs
is.
records, Bob. That's
Yeah,
it.
all he
that's
does.
all he does.
You know
I'll
what?
tell
I'll give my Buckeye leave to J.J. Smith. You know, I mean, it's been a long time.
Going out on a limb.
Going out on a limb. I mean, he has every freshman receiving record now that you can have.
Yes.
He's probably
With multiple games to go.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
He's
incredible.
going to put him so far out of
Yes.
reach.
he's
that-
going to crack. I would be surprised if he doesn't crack 1,000 yards in the regular season, like in 12. Probably put another couple
It's
touchdowns
incredible.
on there. Probably 65 catches or so. Just really depends how much run he gets next week. Because in Indiana and Michigan, I think that they'll probably let those guys go a little bit longer, and those games will be far more competitive.
they seem to be making an emphasis. Like, he did not play on that first drive of the second half.
Yeah.
It was like, is JJ's day over? And when they only got the field goal, like, oh, how about one more? And then pull it back out.
But it's important to get some of those other guys out there too.
Yeah, I
Cardinal
mean,
Tate
like the
played
third
really
quarter
well.
was like Carnell Tate's quarter. You
Yeah.
know, it's like they just kept feeding him the ball, and you have so many athletes out there that okay, JJ, he got his in today.
That's
Let's
fine.
go ahead and get some other guys some touches, and you got Emeka continuing his streak of catches in games. I think that like 33 I saw.
Is that what it is?
I think so.
that's
So I mean,
impressive.
you want to make sure you're incorporating everybody, and I think they were able to do that Saturday.
Yeah.
So you
Jeremiah
gave your
Smith-
Buckeye leaf. I'll give mine. I was going to give mine to Will Howard, but he had about 2 plays in the third quarter that had me yelling at the TV.
Which ones?
And that's okay.
Ugh.
We're human. We can make
Can we get the
mistakes.
guy some cleats so he doesn't
I
slip?
know.
It's so
How
frustrating
about
to
a-
see.
How about a field that is not
Well,
like
then
widely
there's that. Yeah, I
proven
mean,
to be not ideal for playing
that is
football.
just frustrating, and it is got to be the field, but it happens to him a
Obviously.
lot.
Did you yell at JJ when he slipped too?
No, but I just feel like Will does it more, and
'Cause
then the other
ball's-
one was
the ball's in his hand.
the other one was the deep ball.
Yeah.
That I don't understand it because he has plenty of arm. He is so good at everything else, and it just seems to be that deep ball of his. I don't know if he's just aiming it and not wanting to miss a layup and just coming up short. But I would have given him great game. I mean, what
You should still give it.
26 to 29 or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, he's been playing
Standards
great.
is standard over here.
But
I
can't make
mean,
two
I was
It's
yelling at the TV like,
unreachable.
"What is going on? Come on!"
Vern did say that the wind was a little wonky on the
Okay,
field.
fair enough. I wasn't there. I didn't get that aspect of it, and I know how that can affect you. So fair enough. But I'm giving mine to Trey. I think
Yeah.
he looked
He deserves
just so good on Saturday. Over 100 all-purpose yards. Got in the end zone.
Blocking.
You see him on the edge running routes.
Yeah.
I mean, catching the ball down the sideline. I mean, he's doing a little bit of everything, and I love seeing him healthy. The combo between the two. Not getting as many hits this year, but I mean he looks good, and I think
blocking is amazing.
blocking's
It's
been
insane.
awesome, and
He's-
when he breaks through those walls, I mean that burst he has, I thought he looked really good on Saturday, so I'm giving mine to him.
Yeah, that's a great choice. And the way both Travion and Quinshon have
Yeah.
used their bodies, both blitz pickups and as run blockers increasingly
100%.
to help get Will Howard free, has been really impressive from those guys. I think Jack and JT,
Yeah.
I've
James
been a
Jack.
little bit
Yeah.
critical of the veterans, and the production's not been there, and sometimes we've wondered where the energy is going to come from, and Nick Saban's calling the 4-man front antiquated and that they can't get it done. Those guys line up. All you can do is play the people across from you. Purdue's not very good. Let's be honest about that. But we've seen them in other games where they have not gone and dominated physically the way that they needed to. Well, they did on Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think some of the creativity that you're seeing from the rest of the scheme and the blitzes has helped. But they lined up, and JT makes a play to knock the football loose, and Jack scoops it up and scores. That should be celebrated.
Yeah.
Even if you're an announcer. Like, you could probably pay a little bit of tribute to how unique those plays are. A little scoop and score.
Ohio State Buckeyes.
I mean, hey,
Jesse Owens.
Fumble, touchdown.
ball's on the ground,
I
touchdown.
think it was just
He had to almost try to do that. I feel like I mean, in the middle of a game, the ball's on the
I
ground.
mean, a scoop and
A big guy
score.
picks it up and runs it in, and you just fumble, touchdown.
I mean, look, if if even Fox is getting tired of Ohio State on
Why
Big
did they
Noon,
pick them then?
then stop doing it.
Yes,
You know, like
please.
You could have Washington, Penn State would have proven to be a better game. At least like there was an element of uncertainty or surprise, like that you didn't know what was going to happen. This game felt predetermined as soon as it was on the schedule.
yeah.
I mean,
So, but that's the part to me when we've had this conversation about the horseshoe, the in-game experience, Ohio State looking at what Oregon is like, Penn State's like, what can they do to maybe help the fans coming to the games have a better time or bring more energy. This is all inclusive now. If Fox is not going to present this game as if it actually matters, then how is anybody else supposed to
how are
treat
we
it?
supposed to care?
Like,
You're supposed to hype it up, make us believe.
I mean, I know that the fans are frustrated. They want a night game every now and then. They think Indiana, if that's a top 5, top 6 showdown, that should get the full treatment and be in prime time. That's what fans have come to expect, and I get it. But this business model that has worked for Fox is reliant on them treating these games with, if you say it's the biggest game in America, then maybe you should act like it. And if you're forcing it every single week because you know Ohio State can draw against any opponent, and it still was going to get good ratings for Purdue compared to pretty much any other game in the country, well, I mean, this is what you're going to get. So I don't know what the solution is.
I still
Bob.
can't believe that they would believe that would be a better draw than Michigan, Indiana. Like that.
Michigan and Indiana should have been the big noon game.
Like that didn't make any sense to me.
And it was also a far more competitive game.
100% was going to be. In the
which I don't
environment,
think bodes well for Indiana, to be honest with you.
yeah, but it doesn't. But it was you knew the environment was going to have energy because that's a huge. It was a $250 to get in the door.
It was the first time they'd ever been favored against Michigan, right?
Favored by 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns, yeah.
But it was $250 to get into the game. Like, we're bad seats.
Jeez.
At Indiana.
At Indiana.
That's
I
awesome,
I could not believe that.
Yeah.
Could not believe it.
And it was free for some people to get into the horseshoe on Saturday for Ohio State and Purdue. Shout out to loyal watcher Eric Chappell for hooking up Allie and Liberty for some seats.
Ooh, there you go. All right. There you go. Good on you.
And also, he's a veteran. And happy
Shout
Veterans
out
Day.
Thank
to
you,
him.
yes.
So
I'm
I know.
glad you said it first.
Yeah, and we're going to celebrate that at Roosters.
We are. So everyone who's served or currently serving, if you come into Roosters today and bring your military ID, some form, there's like the DD form and all these other things. As long as you bring proof that you've served or are currently serving, you will receive a $10 Rooster Buck as just a token of our appreciation for serving our country, as we are forever grateful.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
None of us
That's
could
great.
do what we're doing without them.
Oh, the place looks amazing.
We
Walked in
wouldn't be
today, American
I know.
flags all over. I mean, you guys did an awesome
The
job.
New
balloons
shirts?
Those
take-
flags up.
Yeah.
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 This is an older one.
Oh,
but
this is- oh,
yeah.
that's- okay.
The new ones that we get veterans shirts every year. I mean, we would not be here
That's
without
awesome.
them. So
That's right.
we are just every day grateful for their service to this country.
That we
so
are.
thank
So
you.
grateful. And then after you come in,
Mm.
bring that $10
Get
Roosters
that $10 bucks.
back tomorrow, and that
Mm.
means that you could get 3 orders.
Oh, it's so good.
Cheesy bacon
Cheesy
wedges.
bacon wedges. It's
Yes.
really the wedge is the ideal.
It's the ultimate delivery device.
It is. I mean, the vestibule to bring that right to your beak, right there with the cheese and the bacon. It's going to be crispy. It's going to be delicious. It's going to be $3 all day long.
That's
I'd,
right.
I'd recommend throwing a little spicy ranch on the side.
Yes,
of that.
sir.
I think that
The
does sound
spicy
pretty
I mean,
ranch.
you can
Mwah.
dip the cheese in the ranch
Oh.
with the bacon.
Oh,
That's,
Yes, you can.
that's like a dual sauce situation.
Don't mess around, Bob.
No.
You go all out when you got the
Okay.
cheesy bacon
Yes,
wedges.
you do.
At least I do. Nicole, there's a football game in a
Yes.
baseball stadium on Saturday.
And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about that.
No,
'cause
you don't
you know,
wanna hear
I'm
from
game
me.
by game. I'm like game by game, and so I was like, okay, this should be interesting. So I'm
That's
excited
one word
to hear
for
what
it.
you think.
You're not going to want to hear it.
It does sound strange.
I don't want to ruin your
The
mood.
novelty of it, the fact that it's I would say meaningless, but the fact that it's a game that should not be competitive helps it a little bit. Because if this was a game that mattered, number one, the turf situation is going to suck. You think if you saw slippage happening on Saturday, when you roll sod on
They
to a
had to
baseball field in the middle of October in the north, it's not like it actually takes a whole lot of root.
They had to stop the game multiple times last time they were in there. It was Northwestern Iowa to flatten out the divots on the field.
And
You cannot, if you were the Big Ten, I'm sorry, Nicole, I was going to save
No.
this for the second half of the show. You cannot put a national title contender in harm's way in a baseball stadium in November. What are you doing? This is an embarrassment to the league.
Yep. I just feel I don't know why we we would be doing that. Like, you're right. It's not safe. I watched kids this summer just with like peewee football, middle school football, because now it's not maybe the same situation, but the ground being so dry that there were like broken bones from hitting the ground so hard because there wasn't any give. So, and the slipping with Will, you know, like I don't know why we're doing that.
I know we'll get into this probably next, but if only there was a former conference commissioner that worked in the city,
your guy
that was up there that could help facilitate a football stadium for them. If only that man existed.
We'll talk about that more.
Spurs
I don't
hero.
want to keep
He's
bringing
Spurs
Nicole's mood down.
No, it's okay.
But it is Ohio State Northwestern. It is a 30-point spread as of Monday morning.
Not 38, only 30.
Only 30 for this one.
Okay, I picked 42-14.
42-14.
So, but maybe I should lean more towards 42-7. But
that's up
This
to you.
defense hasn't allowed a touchdown in 2 games.
Well, 2 games, 7 points in 3 games? Or is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
I
something
thought
like
when I looked it up, they had scored more.
13 points, I guess, in 3 games.
Okay, then let me go 42-7. 42-7.
Okay, 42-7.
Mm-hmm.
A little change to the score.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
All right.
Yeah, we're good with that. We'll allow it.
All right. Anything else other than Veterans Day?
And a huge thank you to everybody. The Buckeye giveaway, I've picked all the winners. They will be uploaded to the contest site within the week of everyone that's won every prize. But this last round, all of them have just been incredible. So thank you to everybody that's taken the time to register for it. And
Just needed an extra week to count the ballots, Bob.
So,
It's
not the only one, apparently.
No, it's like
I don't
a
know.
back end. It's like a back end design thing.
Yeah, the same one that Maricopa County uses.
Yes.
So they'll have it done for you by next month.
But I talked to the winners. They were all so excited. And to get someone that's like screaming in the phone, those are my favorites.
Yeah.
And I had a few of those. So it just made it a great contest. So thank you to everybody who registered.
It's been awesome.
Clearinghouse over there.
This
so
format
great.
this year is great.
It is. And I think everybody's enjoying it and we're able to spread it out. You know, it's just different experiences that you can't buy. You know, you can't buy field passes. You can't buy a ticket to the coach's show to sit and have lunch with like Coach Day and Paul Keels and Jim Lachey.
Yeah.
Unless you're Nicole. You can just be Nicole Cox.
Just be Nicole. You get into all that stuff. You don't have to pay for anything.
We're a sponsor of Ohio State.
That's
you know?
a one-of-one situation.
Mm-hmm.
No one else is getting that. So Nicole is going to go about the rest of her day. We're going to take a break in here at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. Berm will arrive, and maybe I'll keep my cool talking about Wrigley Field, but I doubt it. You'll have to stay tuned to find out in here at Roosters.
Roosters has been so fortunate. We just want to be able to give some of that back to the community.
They donate to organizations that are near and dear to their heart, and we're so fortunate to have been with Roosters now for a long time.
They always go above and beyond to help support our foundation to further help veterans.
It's just a wonderful feeling to know that Roosters supports the Buckeye Cruise for Cancer.
All the folks at Roosters are just genuinely kind folks, and they want to make a difference.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters.
Thank you, Roosters Foundation.
And we are back in Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and Berm has arrived.
Hello.
How are you?
I've been here the whole time.
Whoa, what? Where?
Where were you?
I like to say that.
Sneaky.
I like jokes that are just recurring like that, where I can say things that I've said for years over and over.
Well, it's great to see you.
Thanks. It's great to be seen.
What did you think about you had a second look at the 45-0 win over Purdue. What'd you think?
I think it's fine. It's good.
Fine.
It's what it needed to be.
What happened?
Yeah,
Where's optimistic Berm? Just fine.
It's exactly what it needed to be. I appreciate that they tried some things. I rewatched on Sunday the Jack experiment, and I come away with it thinking that it probably would work. Even with this defense, if you put Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau and Tyreek Williams and Sonny Styles and those guys out there instead of having Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson, who are a little bit lighter in the pants, maybe not quite as good against the run as Jack and JT are, and so the Buckeyes got gashed a couple times on the run when the Jack was in there. But it's also they ran it for 4 plays. Okay, the first play was a little swing pass to a tight end that C.J. Hicks completely whiffed on. He had a chance to not only intercept the ball but stop the guy. It ends up being a 7-yard play. The next play is a run up the middle where Cody Simon runs right into the guy in the hole and spins off and picks up 11 yards or whatever. And
Kid was a hard runner. I'll give him that.
Maccabee's a good player. So and then they got him up the middle again on the run, and then that's what happens. That's sometimes other teams make plays also.
Well, you're kind of workshopping some new stuff here.
So I'm glad they did it. I thought it was important. I think it's important for the future of the Ohio State defense because more and more, if you look at the roster construction, I think that you see an avenue to go away from this traditional 4-3 that Ohio State's run for.
Antiquated?
Some would say. Some have said.
Some have.
But, you get out of that drive by a dude missing a 20-yard field goal, and so you can still feel good about it. And then from there was no real concern the rest of the day with defense. I mean, Maccabee's a good player. So, again, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that
100%.
You want to give up 6.5 yards of carry to a running back, but the game was over. And you had backup defensive tackles in, and guys playing their first games, and
those guys are getting paid too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not as much at Purdue.
Well, hey, they're still getting paid though.
Are they?
I'm going to tell you.
Well, maybe.
They have the opportunity.
I'm going to tell you, there are very few times when a team walks off the bus, and you go, "Well, that team does not belong here." And I said it when I watched Purdue walking off their bus, walking into the stadium, and I immediately went to our company Slack and I said, I don't know what to tell you guys, but this team is awful. Like,
worse than you thought?
Yeah.
Way worse than I thought.
Worse.
Honestly, there have been a few times in my life in this job where I've watched a team and I'm like, okay, that team can't compete with Ohio State. And obviously I didn't expect Purdue to, but the last time I was that aghast at what I got was, and
that's not even
the team that he's going to name is going to surprise you.
Yeah, it's a totally different situation.
Was it Oregon?
It was Oregon in 2014 in the 2015 national championship game, because I was directly comparing them to what Alabama was 2 weeks earlier.
Not the same.
And when Oregon walked into the convention center in Dallas for that national championship media day, I was like, okay, that team does not belong on this field with Ohio State. I have personally witnessed bigger, better, stronger high school football teams than what Purdue was on Saturday. But I think Ohio State deserves a lot of credit, because we watched the Nebraska game, and I think we've all kind of come around on this idea that the Buckeyes maybe were like, who cares about Nebraska? Let's focus on Penn State.
Yeah.
And there was an opportunity to do that last
week.
week.
Who cares about Purdue? Let's
focus on Northwestern.
Who cares about Purdue and Northwestern?
We got Indiana coming up, yeah.
And
there may still been a little bit of
I
that.
think there is part of that.
Let's get ready. We still have to play these games. Let's have ultimate focus in game, but during the week, we're going to game plan. But maybe we'll
start putting some wrinkles in.
Check out that little jack package. We can do
the Nebraska
stuff.
game, I think, it did a lot of good for the Ohio State mentality to realize, hey, you can get got. Like, even if you are focused on Indiana and Michigan in practice, you can't
just Miami.
You can't sleepwalk on Saturday, and that is, they certainly sleepwalked through the Nebraska game. They did not do that on Saturday, and I know you can look at the first half score and be like, "Oh, it's 21-0. This is weird," but they had 4 possessions.
Wound up with 4 possessions.
Yeah, it never really felt like they had a chance. Like the way the clock goes now, I mean, there's a chance. Like, you get 4 possessions, you don't score on one of them. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, I wonder if Ryan Day and Chip Kelly have intentionally decided to be one of the slowest playing teams in college football, and why? Because they are like 110th in pace of play across the country.
Because they like to try to juice up their points per play average. You don't want to run a lot of play. But honestly, what advantage does it give you going out and running 80 offensive plays versus Purdue?
But then you saw it in the third quarter. They have a six play 75-yard drive, a 6 play 80-yard drive. You can still do that whenever they want, which I think is the
pace, space, and angles is what Schlegel always says.
Yeah, well, I've never heard that before, but I like it.
It's a PSA.
It's all sports come down to pace, space, and angles. So there you go.
Yeah.
But I did.
But hold on, before we move on here, since we're talking about blowing games and getting got, Miami got finally, which I was waiting.
They've been messing around.
They've been juggling nines.
How did the ACC front office handle that? Did they try to give the Miami?
Well, Jim Phillips talked to Brett Yormark, and he told them what to do for BYU to how to advise the officiating. They just couldn't. They couldn't cover up Mario Cristobal's ineptitude anymore, because when he called a timeout coming out of the 2-minute warning, when you're running a punt return and you're down, I'm like, why would you ever need to use your timeout there? And it didn't come to fruition because they ultimately didn't get the ball back. Like, you're a moron. Like, you were awful as a time manager. How are you still employed? And by the way, it was the 1-year anniversary, probably not to the day,
when he ran the ball on
the same team where you didn't take knees and ran the ball anyway.
Exactly. Yes.
You're an idiot. I don't want to say that loosely, but
Seems like there's a trend here.
I mean, if Ryan Day called a timeout coming out of a 2-minute warning in a game which you were losing, and on a punt return.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it was like 3rd and 12. I go, just tell one of your guys to step across the line and touch him. Give them the 5 yards.
Yeah, they're still going to punt it to you.
They're like, he must have saw something he didn't like. I'm like, what are we talking? What could they have not have liked? Yeah. By the way, you just came out of a timeout.
What were you talking about in the huddle?
Yes. Oh, crap. We didn't have a guy out there.
Oh, man, what? They're punting? It's
actually a little-known rule that you are not actually allowed to do anything schematic in the 2-minute timeout.
Exactly. Sit there. Coaches aren't allowed to talk. You have to back to the other team's field, looking in the stands.
You have to let the players rest.
I cannot.
It's player safety.
Mind-blowing.
I saw that. I was like, if this was my alma mater, I would lose my mind.
It's a player mental health issue. You have to let them take a
Don't say it. People get upset about Ryan and some of the things he's done in the past. And I haven't always necessarily fully agreed. Sometimes I do, much to the detriment of fans. Like, you wouldn't have done that. I'm like, yes, I would have. Play aggressive. I'm like, well, there's a downside to some of this. But, like, there's always an argument to say, like, this is what they were thinking. And you may not agree with the line of thinking, but there's at least a line of rational thought that was occurring. Never in a million years would you burn a timeout on a stopped clock situation when you were losing
and getting the ball back.
And
you're about to get the ball.
They're putting. It's not even like, oh crap, it's 3rd and 10. We didn't have enough guys out there or something. It's 4th down, and they're punting you the ball.
All right. Well, while we're there, Bob, let's talk about teams that almost got and maybe still got exposed a little bit. Did what happened in Bloomington change your perception of that matchup or either matchup at the end of the year for Ohio State?
I think I've kind of known what Michigan was like. They've
ineffective on offense, but
yes, I mean they're about as impotent an offense as you could be. I mean, I get a lot of feeds, and maybe it's because I'm a dude and I don't know what I'm clicking on, but I get a lot of ED feeds in my Instagram.
That's why they call it Blue Chew, Bob.
Whatever soda fill. I don't even know what some of this stuff is. But I mean, there's a lot of firmness and a longevity that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And
Frank Thomas has to have a job somewhere.
I mean, 100%. I mean, from natural to medical. I mean, there's everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I can't wait how you wrap this around.
How I reach this around.
It's on it. You're gonna what?
And that's Michigan's offense. Like they are impotent in the ability to push the ball down the field against everybody else. But against Indiana, they somehow did it a little bit. They have some good defensive players. Will Johnson, I guess, is a conscientious objector now, and he's gone for the year, I would guess.
Feels like an opt-out situation.
He keeps saying he's coming back for Nebraska and Ohio State. We'll see.
I doubt it.
We'll see what happens on that. But they do have some guys up front, like Mason Graham.
Mason Graham.
Mason Graham is a dude. Yeah. Like, they've got a couple dudes inside.
When they decided to ramp up the pressure in the second half, like, you're like, okay,
they can't block them.
Yeah.
And so, like, what Indiana is a really well-coached, hard-playing, like, well-executing, disciplined team with average to good players.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I talked to Jim Nagy. He comes on our XM show every week. And I was like, who are the pros on Indiana? And he's like, well, Curtis Rourke's like a third day, probably 4th, 5th, 6th round quarterback. So, like, outside of that, he's like, they're just a really well-coached team.
They got a corner that's pretty good.
But like one or two guys, like, they don't have.
They didn't bring in a bunch of dudes who are going first, second day in the draft.
They brought in everybody that he brought in was an all-conference player, albeit at a slower tier conference. Yeah. So they have, like, good football
good,
players.
solid players.
Then maybe you're a step slow, maybe a little small. And, like, as long as they're not going against elite athletes, they're fine. Yeah. But if you put those dudes against, like, when Mason Graham's turned up inside, like, they ain't blocking them. Yeah. When you get some elite wide receivers on the outside, they can scheme it for a while. But if you can protect, they ain't getting it. You get Trey on the outside, they're outrunning angles. Yeah. And so you can see those things happen. But they're well-coached, they're tough. And that just kind of exposed a little bit of what I think they are.
If Michigan had a semi-functioning offense, they win that
game. If
they
had any of the quarterbs on Ohio State's roster,
they would win
any of them.
They'd win that game by 2 scores on Saturday, and that's even with
Lincoln Kienholz leads them to a 24-13.
That's with being down 17-3 at half. Yeah. They still probably should have won it 31-17. But what your point
they
is
don't.
They don't. so they lost. But your point is correct, though. Like, for Ohio State, as you start to, like, gauge this through the Buckeye lens, it comes down to you're gonna be far more talented than Indiana.
Yeah.
You're schematically certainly not at a disadvantage. You do not have worse coaches than Indiana. For all of the accolades Curt Cignetti has deservedly received,
he's good.
This comes down to execution for Ohio State.
You don't give them the game, you will win the game.
You cannot go out and play sloppy. They are not going to make mistakes. They're not going to have turnovers. They are not going to have a bunch of dumb penalties. So, but what they will try to do is get Ohio State in their own heads. Yeah. And, I think that's what's interesting about the penalty that Edric Houston got on Saturday, because those are the types of things where I wonder if, like, Northwestern will try to shake some stuff up that way as well.
And he's a young player. It's his first time playing a lot, and I get it.
So that's how Indiana's going to try to get Ohio State, like get them off their game by trying to make them be stupid, because Ohio State will come into that game and it's going to be a top 5 game again, it's crazy, 3rd top 5 matchup of the season for Ohio State before you hit the playoffs, which
would be great. Ryan could bang another top 5 win,
but it's certainly
kind of a fake one.
Do you think the pressure of the undefeated season that Indiana's never had plays into?
I don't know.
Do you think they play tighter, or is it just like, hey, we've never been here before, screw it, let's go?
Kurt Signetti, he's got
kind of just comes down from the top, where he just has this.
He's got a real
this confidence of just like whatever, let's go.
It's like Charles Bronson.
No, Charles Manson. I mean, like there's a lot in there, and he's like, yeah, we just go win.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
just like, a psycho, basically.
Yeah, he has like after the game, just still pretty emotionless.
That's a dude who, remember, at his introductory press conference was like, Purdue sucks.
Google me.
Yeah, but so does Michigan. So does Ohio State.
So does Ohio State and
like,
Michigan.
Okay, like I love that. Now you took care of one of them, so they're not going to be unconfident. That's for sure. They are an exceptionally confident football team, and
they'll play aggressive.
They get a week off. They get a week off to dial up some stuff. Yeah. So if you're an Ohio State like coach, you're going, okay, we just got to get out of Northwestern healthy.
Yes.
And be able to do what you need to do against
Indiana. But they're going to see, like, Indiana will bring a lot of pressure, a lot of different looks. Like, they're going to try to make it uncomfortable for you. You just can't – if you don't score in the first couple possessions, it's cool.
Yeah,
just we can't give him the Penn State thing, because Kurt Signetti is better. He's a better coach. He doesn't have as good of players, but he is a better coach.
Yeah. That's a pretty low bar to clear there. Getting out healthy on Saturday, I think, has very little to do with Northwestern itself and where the game is being played.
In the sandbox?
I don't want to keep belaboring the point, but it feels so irresponsible that the Big Ten is letting this happen. And I know that they've played other games there, but even the last time they were in, and Iowa and Northwestern played there, they had stopped the game in the second half multiple times.
Was that this year, or is this the first game? Yeah, okay, yeah.
They've been doing – I think the first one was in 2010, and they've played multiple times in there, and often they've been disasters. And, Bob, to your point, like, Soldier Field is the easy solution. Even if the Bears are playing on Sunday, that doesn't mean that you couldn't play a game there.
Yeah, but the city Parks and Rec Department, they want to come in Saturday night and try to get the field cleaned back up. You know they don't work on Saturdays.
I've come around on the idea.
Oh, no.
I'm good with it.
Oh, my God.
It's just going to be –
Who cares?
Yeah, it's a football game.
It's
a baseball stadium.
I would honestly –
Dude, I grew up playing football in fields that had concrete jungles on the ends.
Yeah, but here's the turf was coming up, and they had issues against Iowa. You didn't say this, did you? Say this
last year? Yeah, they had to flatten the field.
But Joshua Perry was saying this morning. He goes, imagine when you put high caliber athletes on the field, what it's going to look like.
We had to stop the Ohio State Georgia game the Big Ten championship game a few years ago to fix the end zone because there was turf coming up.
Yeah. Remember that guy? He was stuffing that rubber in there hardcore.
The turf came fully up. I mean, it happens everywhere.
MVP.
I think if you're Ohio State, though, this past Saturday against Purdue is a good recipe for what you have to do this weekend. It's a game, again, where I don't think Tyreek Williams, even if he is 100%, he's so important to the Ohio State defense moving forward that we've seen now 2 examples this season where he's not on the field, what it does to the interior run defense. Like, I don't think I'd play him this week. I would say, hey, Tyreek, you're good, man. Like,
let's focus on Indiana and
Edric and Tate McDonald, who are I'm not sure I'd play Ty Hamilton this week, to be honest.
Why not? Let's
just sit them all.
We're just going to play the backup.
Let's just play the backup.
Like NFL,
please see how it goes for the first half. If we need the stars to come out,
we'll
throw them out.
5 defensive tackles. They play different positions. Caden McDonald's the 1 tech. Edric Houston's the 3. You got Taiwan Malone. Like, you've got Hero Canoe. You don't – this is not an insult to David Braun's program, who I really like as a coach. I think he's really good. If Ohio State can't beat Northwestern with backup defensive tackles, then Ohio State is not the team we think they are anyway.
Let's challenge Ryan. You should ask him, have you thought about playing all backups?
You going to start Devin Brown on Saturday, Ryan Day?
Awesome. Well, that'd be silly. But
would it? I mean, let's
there are
just see how it goes. Give him a quarter.
I mean, I'm convinced the line would probably be like minus 11 and a half.
Right, it's
like,
30 right now.
I mean,
right?
it would probably come down to 11, but I think you'd probably still cover it.
That situation late in the game, though, when Devin was pulled in the middle of a drive for Julian Sane was pretty wild. I don't know.
I think it was just realizing this is actually might be our last possession, and we got to get Julian.
We want him to get some snaps and let him.
And again, I tried to talk about it on Bold Predictions last week. I didn't think Devin Brown should have played last week against Purdue at all. My opinion was it was irrelevant if he played against Purdue, and in fact, I think it only adds more like confusion because he goes out there in a backup situation. The offense is terribly disjointed. It doesn't look good, and then all of a sudden the crowd not only wanted Julian Sane in the game, but cheered when Julian Sane came in the game. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's stupid. Why would you do that?" I did not think Devin Brown should have played that game because it was not going to help him or Ohio State in either way. Yes, if something happens to Will Howard, Devin Brown's the guy for the duration probably this season. But that did not make sense to me on Saturday.
So why wouldn't it have helped him? Backups need game reps too.
Are those reps good? I just don't think it helps to put him in there and have him scramble for his life with a backup offensive line when Purdue, as bad as they are, still had their starters in. It just, for a guy that needs an injection of confidence the way that Devin does, once he get in there.
It's tough because it's not only the backup offensive line. I mean, you're going down the barrel now because you've lost a couple dudes and you're like moving people up now. So it's not even truly.
You're out there with walk-on wide receivers. Like it's just not.
Well, that doesn't have to be the case either. You could put Mylan Graham in the game.
I mean, I would like to know why he hasn't gotten a rep or two this year, but that's not, obviously our place.
That feels like I'm getting into nitpick zone. I don't really.
Well, you can ask. I mean, they have press availability tomorrow. Why don't you throw it out there?
It feels like there's more pressing things to go through than that.
What are the pressing things? Let's knock those out. What's your biggest remaining concern for Ohio State this season, Bob?
I would say health, really. I mean, and I saw some scheme versatility on offense. Like against Penn State, they looked good. They started running some different stuff. The Chip had run more at UCLA. It's really defensively, like, will they do a little 3 down? Will they switch it up? Like, if they get a chance to play Oregon again, are you going to have it in a couple curveballs, some change-ups? Like, that's kind of it. And I saw that they started doing the 3 down stuff, and I was like, okay, well.
It's a curveball.
They're not – I would think it would be disingenuous to believe that they went out there and said, hey, this is our total 3 down package. Yeah. Let's just do that here in the second half against Purdue. Like, that wouldn't have made sense.
Bob, James Laurinaitis seemed particularly agitated about the volume of missed tackles on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's on the heels of – like, they only missed – according to PFF, and we can get put out whatever.
It's a metric.
There were 4 against Penn State total. Like that was a very solid performance. Is it when you have 18? I know new players were involved. Cody and Sonny combined for 5, according to those. Like, is that because like you have to keep practicing tackling during the week, and maybe you don't want to put them in harm's way?
No, they practice tackling. I mean, sometimes you don't have.
It's juice.
I would say a little bit of it is, and no one would ever want to admit this, and no player would ever say it, but when you're playing Purdue and you miss a tackle, it's inconsequential.
And you don't think that guy's actually that good. So, like, if you hit him in the hole, you think he's going to drop.
A lot of times they fall down like, whoa, this guy's playing hard. And, like, against Penn State, like, you knew every yard was going to be critical. You're stopping dudes on the 1 yard. When you have 4 cracks from the one, there are no missed tackles happening there if you plan on turning them away. Yeah. Like, that's just how it goes. And so I think that there's – and nobody will ever admit this. And I don't even know if consciously it's something there, just subconsciously, just the little attention to detail. And those guys are probably a little better than you assume they are.
What's your biggest –
I mean, health offensive line wise. I mean,
you could have heard
I think they've done
in that stadium on Saturday.
Oh my gosh! I mean, thank God for the Don Joys. I mean, I loved when they picked that up on the TV as well. He's like, I'm giving a shout out to Don Joy because he saved my knee right there. But I mean, that left side, can they stay healthy? They seemingly have played pretty good here, filling in, and with Donovan bumping out to the left tackle. I mean, I think that's been big for us. So can they make it through however many more games that we're going to have is the big question there, because even say something bad does happen to one of our great athletes on the offensive side, you have somebody else that you can put in. Our offensive line is not that way, so that's the biggest thing for me. And it's been the biggest thing the whole year, really, the offensive line.
Yeah. What about you? I'll say that I mentioned it on Snap Judgments on Saturday, but if you would have told me 2.5 months ago that
what if I told
there's a potential liability at cornerback, I would have not believed it. But it seems like Ohio State opponents have very few options to actually attack the Buckeye defense, and they have found one, which is just throw it up and let the officials bail you out. And it's not really bailing you out when you're just tackling guys on the edge like Davison Igbinosun has been doing, and Denzel Burke, whatever confidence is. He's still a confident kid, but like there are teams taking shots, and that's the only thing that Indiana does that would concern me to get to where you need to be, because Curtis Rourke is really, really excellent throwing the back shoulder sideline throws, and that's where Ohio State's been beat. So I guess if I have one, that's it. And I wanted to bring this up to you. On Sunday, the Sunday Sound-Off show with Doug Lesmerises and Bill Landis, Doug said that the Will Howard deep ball conversation is reminding him of the C.J. Stroud needs to run conversation.
It is that. That's a good
and
job
I think
by
that's
Bill.
extremely accurate.
Yeah.
It does remind me of that, and I have become – I don't know if I'm as frustrated by the prevalence of it as I was with the CJ stuff, because like that was so glaringly obvious that CJ extending some plays and then using his arm, the risk-reward was off the charts.
Like there was wide open 10 yards, and it's 3rd and 7, and then he would throw it and it would be incomplete.
But the risk part is what would have happened to the Ohio State offense if CJ had got hurt. It was never worth it for most games, and nitpicking it against a Purdue or a Northwestern or anybody like. But when he had to run against Northwestern, they did run him.
Yeah, he had like 85 yards rushing.
So that like they won the game with his legs. But I think that's certainly a fair point. And the reason that it becomes an agitation on my end is like with your quarterback, you'd love him to be able to do every single thing that's imaginable.
Yeah.
But you also have to design an offense around what your quarterback does best, and you have to keep him healthy for the duration of the season. Now, a deep ball, that's not a real health risk. But running Will Howard, calling these short and intermediate routes where he is playing as well or better than anybody in the country with decision-making and accuracy, that's the things that'll allow Ohio State to win a national championship, not relying on him to throw 40, 50 yards down the field. You can scheme up opportunities, and certainly in the last 2 weeks, there have been 3 throws down the field that Ohio State did not execute. One, Jeremiah Smith needed to finish the route. One could have been a reception to Carnell Tate. The ball kind of is drifting towards the sideline. You can put it on Will Howard there. I have no issue with it. The one on Saturday, maybe the ball comes out earlier. It's open. Pull the trigger. I don't know how much of the wind was a factor. You were down there on the field, Berm.
Still could have caught that ball, too, though. I think,
still could have made that play.
There is an argument that it's certainly better to underthrow than overthrow.
Yes, I agree. And I think that might be a mindset of I don't want to miss the layup. I just want to get the ball in his hands, whether I stop him or not.
I feel like in an Olympic race, right? In an Olympic race, there are 10 sprinters in the Olympics.
Okay.
Someone finishes 10th.
Uh-huh.
That dude doesn't suck.
Uh-huh.
Okay, Will Howard, like I think just the deep ball efficiency metric on PFF or whatever is 6th in the country in deep ball, like over 25 yards. So it's actually pretty good. Especially, I'm telling you, folks, watch college football this weekend. The quarterback play around the country is putrid.
You could get Carson Beck.
It's horrible. Quarterback play around the country. Play around the country 15. Is awful. So if Will Howard's completing only 50% of his passes beyond 40 yards down the field, I'm okay with it. Now, you want it to be better. There's no doubt about it. It could be better.
But he hasn't thrown 11 interceptions.
I don't even get – it's not about him being – I think he has it in him. I don't understand why, because his arm strength does not seem to be lacking.
I think you're.
I'm just more of like what's happening where it's not.
Yeah, I think you're right though, and it's just like
he's been awesome.
I don't want to overthrow this.
Yeah, I think probably that case, but at some point in time, you're going to get into a big game where you're going to have somebody down there,
because I watch.
And you're going to have you need to hit him
as a thrower. Like when you watch him on an intermediate
Oh.
Like there's drive. Like he's got great. Like
Yeah, I think his
great
mechanics kind of maybe break down a little
They
bit,
do.
and I think he aims a little bit and doesn't want to miss it.
he almost
Deep.
like shot puts
Yeah.
the ball down the field instead of just letting it.
It's just, I mean, it's a little nitpick. The guy he's been great.
It's like quarterback school.
I just think he has it. I think he has it in him, and it just I don't understand. Like I would love to just see him rip one where he does overthrow somebody by 10 yards, just to be like,
I can do it.
I could do that. Like show it.
But it's not a concern. What's
No,
your
it's
concern?
not a concern. I mean, it's not a huge concern.
Everything you guys mentioned. I don't think there's another one beyond that. This team has to be healthy for the last 2 weeks of the regular season and as close as they can possibly get if they set up that rematch with Oregon. Like that Oregon defensive front is going to pose a significant challenge for Donovan Jackson and Carson Hinsman on the left side as well as they've played. Like we saw.
The good news
they're
is
different
Michigan is pretty good up front still.
Yeah, so we'll get a good test there.
I think there's. I don't put Michigan in that same category. What Michigan does well is with those two really elite defensive tackles, and that's sort of where Ohio State has been regularly stout, and Seth McLaughlin has been such a stabilizing force in there. And now Donovan Jackson is not at guard anymore, and you have Carson Hinsman, and Integra Shabola has been, a little bit up and down at times throughout this year. But I would like Ohio State's chances of stopping Michigan's defensive front better than Indiana did. Oregon is going to come from the edge. They're going to bring a lot more, maybe creativity. They've seen this before. So it has to be maybe even not just the health side, which there was that hold your breath moment, as Jay-Z mentioned with Carson Hinsman on Saturday, but what does another week of growth look like for Donovan Jackson as a tackle? Carson Hinsman getting more comfortable. Like he was a center, again, all of last year. So, it's going to come down to those guys in the next couple weeks. Offensive line. I sound like Jay-Z.
Always does. Sorry.
Score prediction.
38-0. Another shutout. That'd be what, 3 on the year?
Yep. Yeah, that would be 3.
42-6.
42-6.
That's about right. Last week I said
that's about right.
Last week I said 45-6.
That's what I think I said.
Unbelievably, Purdue misses 2 field goals to cost us our perfection.
We'd rather take the shutout.
He bet on it, the specific score.
Yeah.
So he's going to be rich. He wouldn't even be here today.
So I'm going to go 38-3.
All right.
Because I really think this is if you have any game control in that first half, you got to get guys out early.
Run the clock and get out of there. Get those 9 innings done as fast as you possibly can at Wrigley Field. Saturday, 11 a.m. Central Time. Again, if you see this,
nice brunch kickoff.
On BTN.
Yes.
Veterans come into Roosters. Sincere, again, gratitude and
thank you.
Appreciation. And that's today. Tomorrow is Appetizer Thursday. Cheesy bacon wedges. You don't want to miss them. And then Saturday, of course, Ohio State at Northwestern. We'll have full coverage all week long. Yes, Berm.
Buckeye basketball is on at 6 p.m. tonight on BTN.
Hey,
check it out.
Against the Gwens of Youngstown State.
That's right.
Okay.
So
Let's
watch
go.
it. Give the basketball program some support when they're at home on a beautiful Monday. If you're watching this right now, tickets probably
I'm gonna be there.
$8, so go.
Berm's going to be there.
I'm going. I'll check you out. I'll text you.
So go. Enjoy it. Watch it. JT Burr's team is fun.
And enjoy your week. Thanks for kicking it off with us on a Monday in here at Roosters. It's a fun, casual joint. Thanks to Nicole Cox and the whole team at Roosters. Justin Zwick, Bobby Carpenter, Jeremy Birmingham. I'm Austin Ward. We'll see you next time.